Good evening. Welcome to the Oneida Football Preview Show for 2023. I'm Tim Smith, and I'm joined by my usual colleagues. I'll let them just introduce themselves.
Bo Kid, Statistics.
Mark Matthews, Color Commentary.
Kevin Akers, along for the ride.
That is so true. John Strunk, color as well.
Mark Matthews went for the sexy Mark Matthews voice. Yeah, appreciate that because that's gonna draw in a lot of watchers. That's going to be great. So our purpose tonight is to talk a little bit about this Oneida season that's upcoming. People ask us a lot of questions about what's going on, and we're going to offer up facts. We're going to offer up opinions, and we're going to try to preview as best we can some of the teams that Oneida is going to play. We did run into some roadblocks to that because sometimes people don't return your calls. So in those cases, we're going to make it up, and you just pretend like it's real. No, really, we'll tell you all we know about these teams and what we suspect about these teams. And then as we go through the season, we'll find out just how much we actually knew and how much we didn't. So one thing we do know is Coach Jimmy May is heading into his third year as the head coach of the Oneida Indians. His overall head coaching record is 12-11. He has one no contest win due to COVID. His playoff coaching record is now 2-2. Coach May will move into the top 10 of games coached at Oneida when his first game is completed. That'll put him at 24 games. Coach May previously, as you know, had appearances, 81 of them, as co-head coach with Keith Henry. If these totals were combined with Coach May's totals right now, he would actually be in third all-time place of games coached for Oneida. He would be just ahead of Coach Ben Daniels, who had 103, and behind Coach Tony Lambert, who had 130. And the all-time leader in games coached at Oneida is Coach Jim May Sr. with 202. So we're just going to walk through the season right now. We're going to start with week one. As most of you know, it's a new year. It's a new district, not only in football but in basketball. We're going to see new faces, new teams, and new places. And we're going to try to familiarize you with those things as we walk through here. So week one is going to be game number 920 of Oneida football. This year will be the 89th season of Oneida football. The Indians have 587 wins, 320 losses, and 12 ties. Last year, Oneida finished 4-7, a disappointing season for Indian fans. They fell to Hampton for the third straight year in the TSSAA playoffs. Oneida started strong but ended up averaging only 16 points offensively while surrendering 26 points per game in 2022. So Kevin travels the road down toward Rockwood every day, and Kevin said, I'll take Rockwood. So tell us about the Tigers.
Well, last year the Tigers, of course, the Tigers are going to be, well, as you said, the first game this year. They're coming to Oneida, so we get to open up at home. I reached out to Coach Webb, and he was just so busy and just could not get back with me, and I understand that. He's pretty busy down there. The Tigers went 6-5 last year. They were third in the region, and they lost in the first round to South Green 34-16. After the TSSAA realignment, as you pointed out, they fell back to single A, and they're going to be in a region which was traditionally Region 3 and 4 together. Now they're combined for a total of 8 teams in that region. This will mark the 7th straight year the teams have met. Oneida has 9 wins and 10 losses in prior meetings. These two teams have met in the playoffs twice, with each of them earning a win. Oneida and Rockwood did play one game one time to overtime, in 2013, which the Indians won 13-12. A year ago, these two teams combined for 66 points, as the Indians lost that one 42-24 in Rockwood. 7 of their last 8 games in Rockwood's schedule this year will be region games. Right in the middle of that stretch will be a matchup with their biggest rival and the longest-running rival in the state of Tennessee with the Harriman Blue Devils. That game will take place, of course, in Rockwood on October the 6th. And looking forward to the Tigers coming up here. As you say, I got a little personal deal with that. A lot of my in-laws and stuff were down from Rockwood, so it's kind of like a battle with me every year on Rockwood. Of course, I'm cheering for the Indians to whip them.
I believe that.
I believe that too.
Now, and a lot of teams. Now we didn't get anything from Rockwood from Coach John Webb. And Coach John Webb, I know in the last year he's joined Twitter. He's not one to come to the modern age of football too quickly. And Mark, we know that from watching the Rockwood teams. So go ahead and make a good educated guess on what Rockwood's going to do.
Traditionally, a very run-oriented team. They like that smash mouth approach that, a lot of times is what the Tony Lambert teams that we got so used to watching. You would see very similar things from Tony Lambert coach teams. Come out with offensively, run at you. Rockwood has always had a whole lot of speed. Mm-hmm. It's always seemed like, and like to get on the edge and do those things, and always had a really tough defense. And I've had some, and I know, Bo, that you got some input from some folks that was able to see Rockwood play down there at Tennessee Tech, and I believe said they looked pretty good down there, and was able to do some things down there that kind of was a little scary.
Yeah, they lost some key elements from last year. Of course, they had that Mack truck in the backfield who ran for, I believe it was 172 yards against us last year.
Jaden Hannibal.
He's gone, of course.
Thank goodness.
But it seemed as if they talked about they reloaded fairly well. They're going to be able to come out. And if you remember, this was a game last year where Oneida and Rockwood went back and forth very early. I believe it was 3 touchdowns in the first minute and a half of the ball game. Mm-hmm. This was something that didn't expect to see between those two teams. Ended up, of course, Oneida on the back end of it. But this is a team that – it seems as even if they do lose what they got, they always end up finding a way to reload.
And got up throwing the football on them, seems like. And that kind of uncharacteristic, but that's what we did last year. Both teams, big scoring plays.
Hit on the big play.
Yeah,
the big play. And that's uncharacteristic of Rockwood Oneida.
Yeah.
A lot of downhill running, but they're multiple in their fronts. The last few years he has been. A lot of speed sweeps and things. And if you got the guys that can get out to the edge and be quick, and they had some receivers that were the same way, be interested to know how many of those guys are coming back on the outside.
John, there was a point in that game, I know you'll remember last year. I remember Mark was frustrated through part of that game.
Not me.
And that happens sometimes. But I also I'm going to go ahead and plug the South Fork TV network, Channel 190, Channel 191 on Highland Telephone on their Highland Communications. That's what I'm looking for. I don't think it's on the telephone, but it's on the Highland Communications. You can watch it on the Highland TV. Now, you can also watch it on YouTube, and I've been doing that some and just catching up because my wife says I like to hear myself. So, I really don't have there's no way for me to argue against that when I'm watching it, but I was watching one of those replays, and Greg has a wide variety of things that have been going, and it's ever expanding, but he's been showing some of the old round tables. And the round table we had after that Rockwood game, I talked about, Oneida appeared to be going in for a score to, I think, tie that thing again, and turned it over, and then they just
inside
took
the 5.
Jaden Hannibal and made us like it for 95 yards.
Thanks.
And ended the competitive season competitive portion of that game.
Yes.
But when you draw back and look at the Oneida season that finished 4-7, it almost feels like that was the seminal moment in the season where things turned. Would you agree with that?
That's a fair statement. And you have points in the season or points in a singular game that you can turn back to and said it makes or breaks things. And that's a very fair assessment.
Yeah, we if memory serves me correctly, we've got down there and tried to run it a couple of times. We fumbled it.
Yep.
And
on the 2.
Yeah, and it turned everything right there. And they marched it
95 yards.
95 and went down.
And
there.
a similar thing happened just a few years before that against Rockwood again. Remember that? And that was at Oneida. We had things going, and that goofy little play where we got a turnover, and then they picked it right back up and went in and scored after we thought we had the game won.
You're right.
And almost identical.
Was it the
from that.
Hannibal kid there too?
I
that-
think
that,
so. And it was our
freak
season
play
from
that
that
happened.
point on just seemed
Yeah.
to just go downhill and just couldn't get things going again.
Yeah.
So.
But it's just coaches say all the time, one play at a time,
Yeah.
every play, and that
It
play
matters.
just seems like
Just
one of the
matters.
keys of the season. Now, Oneida had never lost to Rockwood 3 times in a row until they did last year. So Oneida's trying to stop the bleeding with this one. They're at home. It's a single-A team, which is weird for some of us older guys because it used to be Rockwood and Harriman were big schools,
Yeah.
and we didn't play these big schools. We were a little single-A team, and now Rockwood is single-A and Oneida is 2A, and they're going to be the home opener, and Oneida's looking to stop a 3-game losing streak against a team that is just going to, with Coach John Webb, you will get the best effort every time from that team, and so that's Oneida's opener.
Yeah, very well coached football team. You know they're going to come in there prepared every single time.
So
It's his system, and how long has he been there?
Yeah, he's been there. He's been there forever. I mean, he's been in there
Consistency.
20 years. I guess,
Consistency.
yeah.
So then to catch your breath in week 2,
Oh,
game number 921.
no.
It will be the Coalfield Yellow Jackets coming in. Coalfield, all they did last year was go 12-2, win their region. They lost in the semifinals to Clay County by 7, 40-33. Coalfield was a touchdown away from an appearance in the state championship game. This will be the 79th meeting all-time between Oneida and Coalfield, and as I looked at it, it's 74 straight meetings.
Neat stat right there. Neat stat.
And so who's got Coalfield?
I do.
Oh, Mark's got Coalfield. So the exception for that was a no contest COVID game back in 2020. That we're not counting that as a miss because it didn't count as a contest. So 74 straight meetings. Oneida has 8 wins and 14 losses since 2000 to Coalfield. Strangely, these two teams have never met in the playoffs. The longest win streak in the series was from 81 to 89. Oneida won 9 straight in that stretch. The Indians will be coming into this one looking to get back on the winning side against the Yellow Jackets after, it's been a while. 2018, last time Oneida beat Coalfield.
It, guys, it just hurts. It just hurts. You know, if we played them in week 10 and going into playoffs, and we had talked, and I watched the game film. I sat through it. I don't know why I did that, but I sat through it yesterday evening and rewatched that film, and I was pretty non-existent the first half. It was you and John L. Pretty much did the first half of that ball game.
Well, that made 2 games.
Yeah. But it was bad. It was just bad, and 42-0. I think it was 28-0 first quarter. I mean, we started off great. We kicked off, got an onside kick, and then we ran a play and didn't get anything, and then we threw an interception, and they marched right down and scored, and we got the ball 3 and out, and they marched right down and scored, and we got the ball 3 and out, and they marched right down and scored, and it just got away from us quick, and we had a chance to right a lot of wrongs right there in that ball game going forward into the playoffs, because we was fixing to face another really good football team in Hampton, and we just wasn't able to do that against a excellent football team in Coalfield that was fixing to march on to the semifinals themselves. Mm-hmm. So great football team, Coalfield. They've got something really going on special down there. 2022 record, 12-2, like you said, beat us last year 42-0. That hurts to say. 7-3 in the last 10 seasons against Oneida. 2018, last time we beat them. Whew, that's a long time. They've got 8 region football games. Kevin talked about that earlier, and Rockwood is in there. That's one of their region football games. Oliver Springs, Sunbright, Oakdale, Harriman, Midway, Greenback is their region foes. Sequatchie County, Oneida, Wartburg is their non-region foes. History of the series, the last 10 years, they're 7-3 against us. Last loss against Oneida was a 7-3 victory for Oneida, and that was at Oneida. Coalfield is 42-15 the last 5 years, 10-5 in the playoffs in that span with 2 semifinal appearances. That's pretty good stuff right there, guys. A little bit about them coming back this year. They've got 5 offensive starters back. They've got 6 defensive starters back from a defense that was phenomenal, and Bo talked about this defense in depth last year when he did the pregame report. They was just amazing. 30 yards, I think they gave up a game last year on the year coming into our game, and I think they gave up like 115 yards passing.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
It was just this bunch was unbelievable, and they've got 6 of those cats back. Offensively, they've lost 3 linemen. A.J. Henry being one of those guys, so they've got to replace 3 of those guys. They lost Cole Hines. That's a tough one. But they've got that Treese kid coming back.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
He had 700 yards, fellas. He's had 700 yards passing. He's a sophomore, going to be a junior. Coming back.
And as good as he is on the gridiron,
yeah,
he's a lot better on a diamond.
Yeah.
He's scary.
Yeah.
And it's
this
at this
kid is
point,
just an athlete.
Yeah.
At this point, really, you should really think about just playing baseball.
Yeah.
if you're Luke Treese.
Well,
I mean,
now wait a minute.
there's no sense.
You can play football after week 2.
There's no
Come back.
no
That's
sense.
okay.
No
Yeah,
sense
that's
in
okay.
getting out there and risking
Yeah.
anything.
Just play region games.
Yeah, this region games. There you go, John. Great job. Yeah, that's a great idea. But now you got him coming back quarterback, but old number 27, number 27, and old Colton Henry. That rascal had 62 rushes, 408 yards, 8 touchdowns. He can catch football too. 15 receptions last year, 142 yards. This is just regular season stuff. Not only that, but he's pretty good on defense, 74 tackles. I think he was the leading tackler last year on that football team. 74 tackles, 12 tackles for loss. Colton Henry is a senior this year. He's wanting to have a big season again. He had one on his junior year. They've got Eli Roberts coming back at receiver. He had 17 receptions, 417 yards, three touchdowns. Eli Justice, defensive end, he was their sack leader from last year. He's back. He had 4 sacks, 39 tackles, 10 tackle for loss. I mean, they got playmakers all over the place. Jaden Bunch, he's just a sophomore. This kid had 377 yards, and we seen him last year against us, and he had a big night against us. 39 attempts, 7 touchdowns himself, just a sophomore. So we've got that to look forward to in week 2. These guys are like I say, playmakers all over the place. They lost a bunch, but they're getting a bunch back. Offensively, multiple shotgun, 1 back, 2 back. I mean, we seen it. Defensively, 3-3 stack, 4-3. I mean, they know how to do it.
Coach Napier's done a great job down there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no doubt about it. He's done a phenomenal job since he's come in down at Coalfield at putting together a community around that team. And he's really built a system, and it just seems every year they get the kids to buy in a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And it reminds you so much. I mean, you see all these old these old movies. You know, of course, I always remember, go back to my days. Of course, you're thinking of like the old movie, Varsity Blues and stuff like that. The town, sort of wants to shut down and go and watch the ball game.
That's the way they are.
That's the way they are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how it is down there.
And this is what it is, but winning has a lot to do with that.
Absolutely, it does.
I mean, you can buy into something when it's proven.
And they bought in down there. 22-5 is Coach Napier down there. He's 5-2 in the playoffs since he's been there. I mean,
and those 2 losses were deep in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Two semifinals.
Yeah.
And
So-
probably goes back to being one of Oneida's biggest rivals. I know we're not in the district, haven't been for a while, but it's still And I look back at the 90s when we were there, or the 80s, excuse me. 9-1 in the 80s, 7-3 in the 90s was Oneida in those matchups. The script has flipped a little bit.
Yeah.
We struggled always against them whenever at the early 2000s. We
Always
struggled
competitive.
Always competitive. It was within two scores, but it was a smash mouth game every single time. But they just always seemed to find that play towards the end of the game that they were able to break away and be able to hold us off.
I think Tim had the stat, the flip into the script, since 2000, 14-8, going Coalfield's way.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So there you go.
1932, first time those two teams met. Wow. And they'll meet again here coming up. Now, if you've just joined us, you're watching the Oneida 2023 season preview, and you're probably thinking, this is going to be a 5-hour special. But just we know more about Rockwood and Coalfield than we do most other teams.
Probably so.
So hang in with us on that. Going from a series that started in 1932 to a series that has never existed. That's what's coming up next on this preview of Oneida football. We thank you for joining us. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more on the IH Sports Network. Welcome back to the Oneida 2023 football season preview. We have looked at two teams so far. Those are Rockwood, the opening game, Coalfield, the Week 2 game. And we talked about the number of meetings. Coalfield will be the 75th straight meeting between Oneida and Coalfield, a series that first started in 1932. Now it's very different because we're getting ready to talk about a school that just came into existence. Week 3 will be Oneida at Eagleton College and Career Academy in Maryville. This will be game number 922 of Oneida football. It'll be the first meeting with the Royals. That's their mascot, the Eagleton Royals. This will be the inaugural season of Eagleton football. Oneida will be the first ever home opponent on a brand new field that they have put in place. And the Royals will open the year at Tellico Plains, which will be a non-district game. The Royals are 2A, but they are in the Region 1. We're in Region 2. So they're playing Tellico Plains. Then they come to Huntsville, and Week 2 we'll get to see a little bit of a preview here in town as the Scott Highlanders host the Eagleton Royals, and that will be in Week 2. Eagleton shares a region with South and West Green, Cumberland Gap, Hampton, and Happy Valley. Should Oneida make the playoffs, then one of those teams would be the opponent. So the playoff structure is similar. Out of that group and our group, there will be two teams that advance to that, or a team that advances to the semifinal, and they'll play against each other moving into that. So Eagleton's getting an early look at some of their potential region opponents and playing Tellico Plains and playing us. Eagleton, where is it? It's in Blount County. It's over in the Maryville area. Eagleton is a community that's been around a long time. Those who've watched Oneida Middle School, Eagleton and Oneida Middle School have matched up many times. And then after that, the speculation gets a little bit speculative. So I couldn't get with any of the officials from the school. Their coach is Scott Childs. Had a call in for him. Sent a call in for the athletic director. But this time of year, a new school and all those things going on, and they don't want to talk to me. That's what's really it is. So they've got bigger things going. And so I did not get a chance to talk with them and about what they would do. But that doesn't stop us from dealing in rumor, because you hear a bunch of rumors about what's going on in Eagleton. So here's the scoop on the rumors. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are saying Eagleton is a very athletic area that has been a big feeder for Maryville High School, and we know how successful Maryville High School has been in that. And there is speculation that there was some this was a highly sought-after job as far as being the head coach. This head coach in particular comes from William Blount, and that's where he was formerly before he came to Eagleton. So really, though, it's a mystery. But Eagleton has an aura about it that people are talking about, saying they're not going to have any seniors this year. They'll have only freshmen, sophomore, and juniors, and they're saying that this will be a really good team. You're going to be surprised how good this team is and how hard they can compete. I'll throw that out there, and now discussion.
Let's look back at another instance that this has happened with Oneida since I've been around. 2001, CAK.
Mm-hmm.
First year program. We went over there. It was a 28-0 win over there. The next year, came here, 28-14 win. My junior year, we go over there, and it ends up being a PAT that's kicked off the back of the center that ends up giving us a 21-20 win over there, or a 20-19 win. I apologize. My senior year, both teams are 6-3 going into week 10, and it's win, and you go to Cloudland for the first round of the playoffs. You lose, and you're done. And that took overtime for us to get to that.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, this kind of area, and you talked about it, a lot of freshmen going to be in there. I think CAK, the very first year we played them, everybody was freshmen except for 3 players. They had 2 juniors and a senior. Everybody else was freshmen. You can build a program quickly in that kind of area, and you can build a successful program quickly in that kind of area.
All right, so that's Eagleton, the Royals. That's what we have. Anybody else have anything you want to offer up? Just make something up off the top of your head about the
Say
Eagleton
the Maryville
Royals?
quarterback is going there.
Now
Transfer.
Transfer. Well, they say that.
There
yeah.
was talk that his little brother was there.
His brother, his little brother, and
Yeah.
and the 2 sisters was going to be cheerleaders there too. It's what I heard.
I'll tell you
It
my
was just
main question is we are going to have to take the exit with the new Buc-ee's. So what time do we have to leave, Kevin?
I'll work on that, but we about be going back roads.
and where do we eat? This is a road
Buc-ee's.
game. This is our first road game. Okay. Are they?
Now I did get a look at their facility.
Are
by
they
the way.
sponsoring? Is Buc-ee sponsoring?
Buc-ee's sponsoring. We
Hey,
gotta-
maybe you
should
should.
do that.
Or 2.
Consider that. Stuart will be
Stuart?
along to ask you about that later.
Their facility is super, super nice. Even for a first year, they got artificial turf. They got a good-sized press box, from
Wow.
what I can make out
Yeah.
and stuff. So it's a nice-looking facility.
Somebody's dumped some money.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, so that's Eagleton. That's week 3. That is not a region contest. None of them have been, but this one will be. Oneida has 4 other teams in the region. Is that right? 5 other teams in the region. Yep, and their first matchup with a region opponent will be at home in week 4. Wartburg comes to Oneida. It's game number 923 of Oneida football. Wartburg went 4-7, but didn't qualify for the playoffs last year from the region that we shared. This will be the 58th all-time meeting. John, what you got on the Wartburg Bulldogs?
Well, I'm in the same boat as you. I did reach out to Coach Peels and did not get a return call, and that may be to expect. It's a region foe, and I think with Wartburg, their last playoff game was in 2018. They lost to South Green 44-26. And they were 1-3 in the district that year to get there, and that's been their that's where they've been. They needed one win so many times just to get into playoff contention, and they just haven't done it. Before that, it was 2011 was their last playoff matchup, and it was 41-13 loss in round 1 to Oliver Springs. That's when they were in Class A. So for Wartburg, like you said, this will be the 58th meeting all-time, Oneida and Wartburg, and Oneida's 43-13-1 all-time. The Indians last lost in 2010. I think you hit on that. Last year's win, 30-6, and this will be pivotal. This will be a region game. I think I think there's 5 teams in our district.
6.
Is there 6?
There's 6.
So this is going to be pivotal for Oneida and Wartburg. I mean, I really think that, and it's one of those games that I think it's a must-win for both teams. And if you look at last year's, and like you said, Oneida's won 10 straight coming into the meeting this year, but last year matchup was a little odd. Oneida only had 78 yards rushing, I believe, on 36 carries. I mean, couldn't really move the rock, but we threw it well. And we ended up winning 30-6. We made the most of mistakes made by Wartburg. We capitalized. And that's what we need to do this year in most all games.
You know, and I remember a couple of years ago. I think you had somewhere you had to go. We went down to Wartburg, and it was a battle, and we had to get the ball late.
7-0.
It was 7-0,
yeah.
and picked off a couple of passes in the end zone. against them because they was throwing the ball all over the place on us, and we picked off a couple of balls in the end zone to keep them from beating us down there. So Wartburg, can be very capable at times and can field some good football teams and certainly has some potential down there to beat the Indians.
And a young man that was on the Oneida that's been in the Oneida program for 3 years, who just transferred down there as a senior, hasn't gotten a whole lot of playing time for Oneida, but Landon Boutwell transferred to Wartburg this year. So he knows, a lot of the play calls, how it goes at the line, everything like that. So will that have to be something that's changed up for that game for us? Who knows?
And early in that game last year, Wartburg very competitive. I mean, it was, it got out of hand, but like case in point is our struggle to establish the run. And that for us last year was a struggle in most games. But if Wartburg's able to do that again this year, who knows? And briefly, just looking at their schedule, they open at home. Away at Coalfield. They're home at Harriman. Of course, away. Oneida is their third game. Bledsoe at home. ECCA. That's in Maryville. I don't even know what that is. Eagleton, right? So they're home there. Polk County, Oakdale, Sunbright, York, and Tellico Plains. Those last two at home. So they've got a tough schedule.
So they play a chunk of their region early.
So I got two things about Wartburg. One, I saw a social media post last week where they said it's not even August and already the catch of the year has been made. It was a Wartburg player.
Saw that.
And he was being defended, and the defender was turned toward him, and he reached around the defender, caught it.
It pinned it against his
back, and then reeled it in and had the catch. That's one thing about Wartburg. The second thing I'll say about Wartburg is Kevin and John and I did the middle school championship last year, and we saw a young Wartburg team loaded with talent and an outstanding quarterback. So, they're going to have some freshmen that are going to be coming in looking to contribute because Oneida's going to be looking for the same thing from theirs.
Absolutely.
So, I agree with John. That Wartburg game, it's hard to see a path to the playoffs if you can't find a way to get that Wartburg game. Should be very interesting in week 4.
One quick thing. I drive through there every day going to work, and I will tell you this. If you ain't paying attention, they will run over you down there.
You want to give Kevin's phone number?
Kevin always likes to endear us to everyone. I appreciate that, Kevin. So, hey, we're going to take a break, and we're going to be back with 2 more teams we're going to break down. This is the Oneida 2023 season preview. We thank you for joining us. You're watching us here on the IH Sports Network. Welcome back to the Oneida 2023 season preview for football. We've been through 4 teams so far: Rockwood, Coalfield, Eagleton, and Wartburg, and we're going to educate you on a couple more as best we can. This next one is going to be week 5, and it will be Oneida's first road region game. Oneida will have their furthest region travels all packed into this initial season, and it begins with this trip to Benton, Tennessee, which is in Polk County. You're down in the southeastern corner of the state. Same county as Copper Basin is where Polk County resides. It's game number 924 of Oneida football. Last year, Polk County was 6-5. They were 4th in their region, and they lost in the first round to East Robertson, 55-28. This will be our first, as I mentioned, road region matchup, the first meeting ever with the Polk County Wildcats. Oneida played Copper Basin down in that county. Here and there, we've played them 5 times, and Oneida's 5-0 versus Copper Basin, but I can tell you Polk County is not Copper Basin. I did get a chance to talk with Coach Derek Davis of Polk County, and I want to say first off, one of the nicest guys, one of the best conversations, and just down-to-earth people. He made you excited to go down and visit them and listen to the similarities of what we're going to see when we go down to Polk County. Coach Davis is coaching a team that was coached by his dad, Larry Davis. The field is named Larry Davis Field. And he is the legend there, and this is his son Derek, who is following up and coaching in his dad's footsteps, and we'll talk more about that family connection in just a minute. But I asked him what their school's traditional rival is, and he cited Copper Basin. They're in the county. They're a smaller school, and it's a nightmare if you lose to Copper Basin. If you're Polk County, that's just something you cannot do and cannot abide. And I asked him he said that's traditionally. Now, more recently, McMinn Central has been a team, which is a county over, that has been competition, that has been one that's kind of pointed to as we need to win this one. The strength of his team, he said he felt like his strength was depth, which is not something that we necessarily have. But Polk County, he said he feels like he's got depth this year, and that his lines on both sides of the football are pretty strong. So it looks like they're strong where we're at a question mark right now in some ways. I asked him what his team's weakness was, and he said his overall team speed is not where he would like it to be, so they have to be smart in what they do. I asked him what his offense was, and he said it's a variation of a wing T.
The old bastard wing.
That is exactly what he told me it is called. So he said it's wing T concepts, and they're under center. And he said you will not see shotgun 4 or 5 wide, any of that. He said what you're going to see is up under center, misdirection, wing T concepts. That's what we do.
Harriman.
2-hour football game.
3 yards, cloud of dust.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, Harriman used to run something like that. Yeah.
I asked
Remember
him
that?
defensively, what does he do? He says he's a 4-4 defensively. He puts his corners and his
Old
safeties
school.
out on an island.
You man.
So,
Pack them in and make you.
Yes, sir.
So as football has made this transition,
Everybody got a gap.
we're going to see a team
That's it.
that is a throwback team.
Yes, sir.
When we go down to Polk County. I asked him what has to happen for your team to have a good year. He said we got to stay injury-free. Even though he's got that depth, he feels like he needs to stay injury-free, and there needs to be improvement for every player throughout the year for them to have a good year. I asked him what would cause a bad year for his team, and he feels like handling adversity. If they drop an early game or have early problems and get down on themselves, he fears a snowball effect for his team, and that's what he says he doesn't want to see is trouble handling adversity. I asked him who he thought the favorite was in our region, and he said he thought it was obviously York. And he bases that. Who can argue with that? York was a semifinal team a year ago. They lost to the state champion Tyner Academy. And so he says until somebody knocks the chip off the shoulder of the bully, York, he said, but do not sleep on Bledsoe County, a team that we used to play and we had some close games, but we usually beat them. But he said this is a team that has steadily improved year by year. Bledsoe is surging. So York and Bledsoe he has as the top 2 teams to watch in our district. Then I asked him what his biggest game of the year was going to be. He said all of his region games. Coach speak, right? But he said,
absolutely.
but it's right. He's exactly right. But he also said these area rivalries are going to be huge. They get people in the seats, and he's got games with that McMinn Central. He talked about Copper Basin. He said in Meigs County, they'd like to beat Meigs County. After Meigs County's had these years of surge, that's going to put butts in the seats, and he's wanting to win those. I asked him what his fans' expectations were, and he said to be competitive, to be tough, hard-nosed, and don't give up. He doesn't feel like they're putting a number of wins on the season for his team. He feels like his fans understand if they go out there and give it their all and play as hard as they can and leave it on the field, his fans are going to be okay walking away that night from Polk County. Some history in Polk County. The best team for the Wildcats came in 1979 when Coach Derek Davis's dad, Larry Davis, was the football coach. That 79 Polk County team lost to Alcoa in the semifinals, and Alcoa eventually won the state championship that year. His dad coached from 1967 to 1993 for this Polk County team. And he said, I asked him about some of the great teams. He said an 85 team got on a roll, and he's really proud of a 2009 team that went 11-1 and just ran into a buzzsaw in that second round of the playoffs. Now, the last playoff win for Polk County was 2013. Coach Davis was there 2000 to 2019. He left for a time, but he returned last year. He said, sometimes you think the grass is greener, and then you realize it's not, and he wanted to just come on back home. So this will be his second year in trying to re-push and revitalize that Polk County program. They've had some great players down the years. In 2007, Mike Hammonds was the kicker of the year in the state, recognized by the Tennessee Titans, wound up going to play at UTC. In 2012, there's an all-time state record that was set by Zach Miller of Polk County against Sequoia. He ran for 411 yards in one game.
Wow.
And he said they were very proud of that number because Highway 411 runs through Polk County, runs through Benton there, and so at Highway 411, he said it wasn't a blowout game either. It wasn't like they were just handing the football up 52 to nothing. He said it was 42 to 28 was the final, and he ran out of a fullback position.
Wow.
He is now the middle school coach. We may get to talk to this record-setting Zach Miller when we get down there. We always like to bring in somebody to talk to from the area, but he's coaching that middle school wing tee, getting them ready to run the wing tee in high school, which is, to me, ideal. You've got your middle school, getting them ready for the high school. And then the last thing I'm going to mention on Polk County, all those guys are great and are held up there, but the true legend of Polk County is his uncle. Coach Davis's uncle is Ronald Davis. He was the girls basketball coach. This will be the first year that he's not the Polk County girls basketball coach or a basketball coach in the area. His first year coaching was 1968.
Wow.
And he had coached high school girls basketball until last year. He has over 1,000 coaching wins. You can look him up on the tree. Lamar Rogers is ahead of him, but not all that far ahead of him, about 200 more wins. And this gentleman won the state championship with the Polk County girls in 1981. So what I picked up in talking to Polk County's coach, Derek Davis, it feels like home a little bit. They've got a lot of pride. They've had a lot of good things happen. The field is named after the coach's dad. I mean, it's just a place that prides themselves, and it will be, I think, a great place to go watch a football game down in Benton. He said, y'all are welcome. Come on down, live stream it. We'll be glad to have you. So we look forward to that in week 5.
Yeah, that's great. I don't know how I'm going to follow that up.
Well, let's find out. Let's find out. Week 6 will be Greenback in Oneida. It's game number 925 of Oneida football. Last year, Greenback was 5-6, third in their region. They lost in the first round to Unica. A very up and down year for Greenback and a coaching change in the offseason.
And there it is, Greenback. No, well, they've changed the head football coach at Greenback, so don't know a whole lot about them. I not really in depth with what like I had on Coalfield,
right?
That John L.
We don't have time for that anyway.
Yeah, well, Greenback 5-6, 4-2, which was kind of a surprise, guys. We was going into the Greenback game last year, I think, and thought, boy, this is probably going to be a win. We're probably going to get a win here, but that wasn't to be the case.
Who said that?
Well, I kind of thought
everybody.
You did too. You did. But I kind of thought we got a good shot here. We got a good shot for a victory, and it just wasn't to be. They had a really good quarterback last year, and he played. He was tough, man. He was tough, and they beat us 13-10. Beat us 13-10. They're in there with Coalfield in that region of 8, and we play them. We play them on the 22nd up at our place this time, so that's always good. Hopefully, we'll be able to get a victory there. They're coached by Tommy Clemmer. Don't know nothing about him, so I don't know what kind of offense, what kind of defense. I don't know if you know anything about him.
Not a thing.
Yeah, we had talked a little bit about that. Last 10 seasons against them, 4-3. 2017, 2018, we didn't play. 92-36 overall record. They 3 state runner-ups in that time frame. This Greenback Cherokee team, 1 state championship, playoff appearances in all 10 seasons. I mean, they've got tradition there at Greenback. little bit of turmoil over there, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know Coach Tommy Clemmer, but I know. I do know on Twitter. Well, I'm sorry, X. I'm sorry.
Whatever you want to.
Ben, I'm sorry, X.
He gets tore up about it. He
Elon,
does. He gets.
Yeah, Elon Garrett gets upset about that. So.
Yeah.
But the point is, I did see on Twitter this summer that if it's to be believed, Greg Ryan was in the mix, had applied to be the head coach. I mean, Greg Ryan that took them 2 state championships had applied to
3
return.
of them, I think.
And was not the choice. So,
Well, maybe there was some hurt feelings there because he bolted, because he left when he did for maybe a bigger place. I don't know what the deal was there, but and then he wanted to come back, and they didn't want him to come. Some people didn't want him. Obviously, some people that was in charge didn't want him to come back.
Yeah, they just happened to be on the school board.
Yeah,
so
possibility,
out,
but a heck of a football coach in Greg Ryan.
Yes, sir.
But Tommy Clemmer is the guy now, and so we'll see what happens when we play Greenback, the Cherokees. It's always been a big rivalry for Oneida, and Old Bo knows all about that.
Well, I mean, outside of Coalfield, it's hard to think of a team that has provided more drama, ups and downs against Oneida than Greenback.
Yeah, they beat our eyes shut, didn't they, John L?
They did. And you go back to Oneida's state championship, that season, the 2 highlight games. What are they?
Yeah.
Both of them were there.
And where did they had to go through? You had to go through Greenback to get the state championship.
Was there something you was wanting to talk about that?
No.
Greenback.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Well, I got a pick there one time. If that's what you want to talk.
Oh, okay. I thought there was. Okay.
Sophomore year, picked one off right up the middle.
Pick 6?
Yeah.
6
yards.
Okay.
Got about 6 yards off
fell
of it.
forward.
Got about 6 yards and then
against
I
them.
believe I tripped over Adam Douglas at some point during that game. But
Adam.
And there was one game I did not get to play against Greenback. Yeah, go ahead. You beat that dead horse.
I know.
We've all given up some things to Greenback. I gave a couple of teeth one
He
night.
did. He got his teeth knocked out. Then I come out and he said, "Can you help me find my teeth?"
That's all right. That second game, that second time we got to play them, though, I gave it everything I had.
Yes, so, you did.
Unfortunately, I ended my high school football career.
Yeah, but
I
can't let you live it.
Yeah, I know. I know it.
I'm just going to plug again. All of these games being referenced with Bo, you can find on South Fork Network Television.
I have watched I've watched every single one of them.
Yeah.
Now you can watch them with intent.
Yes. Yes.
All right. We're 6 teams through, got 4 more to go on the regular season preview of the Oneida Indians 2023 football season. We'll be back with more. You're watching the preview on the IH Sports Network. Welcome back to the Oneida Football 2023 preseason show. Week 7 is where we find ourselves now, and it's another long-time opponent. It's York Institute, and in this case, it is an opponent that is a region champion from a year ago. And actually a semifinal participant. They were 1 game away from going to the state championship. These York Dragons, Derwin Wright's return was absolutely successful. It's game number 926 of Oneida football. And Kevin has the story about the York Dragons.
Yeah, York will be coming to Oneida this year. As you said, they went 6-4 during their regular season. And don't take that record lightly. They had a lot of tough competition. They were, of course, first in the region. They lost in the semifinals, you said, to Tyler Academy. Ended up winning the state championship. They lost to them 33-0. This will be the 41st meeting all time with the Dragons. Oneida first met York all the way back in 1939. Oneida is 22-18 all time against the Dragons. The Indians lost last year 28-14. Before that, the Indians had won 2 straight. This will be Oneida's 3rd region contest of 2023, so that will most likely be a key game when considering the playoffs and seeding coming into the playoffs. The Dragons will play their rival Livingston Academy the week before they come to Oneida, so that might be something interesting to keep an eye on. The Dragons ended last season, as we said, overall 9-5. They made it to the Class 2A state semifinals. And the Dragons have high expectations under head coach Derwin Wright. And here's some quotes I got from him. So far, it's exciting. He said, the kids are working hard. We are staying in the weight room and working on getting in shape. Wright also added, we're looking for consistent effort. There are some skill spots we're trying to learn. Right now, we're working on the IQ and sticking to a few plays offensively. That's some coach talk for sure right there. York brings back the majority of their 2022 starters from both sides of the ball. Coach Wright stated Logan Pinnell, Miles LaFew, Rylan Miller, Aiden Sweat-Thomas, and Bryson Bilbrey were really big for us, and Michael Wall was an offensive and defensive standout as well. All those guys are returning. Prior to York's 9-win season in 2022, the Dragons actually only had 9 wins combined from 2019 to 2021. Coach Wright said our goal last year was to win the region. We didn't really think about a record. He said, I told the guys I want to try to win a state championship, but it doesn't matter what I want. Do they believe they can win? Every team makes its own personality, and we'll find out, hopefully in the first game or two. We have high expectations. So probably, honestly, one of the toughest opponents we've got on our schedule this year will be York. And they're not just looking at winning the region. As Coach Wright said, their expectations are they want to win a state championship.
Yeah, and I was actually through there the other day and seen them rascals out there practicing. And
tiny, weren't they?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. They was just in headgears and shorts, and man, they look big. Yeah. So
if you remember, they were athletic as can be last year. The one wide receiver, it just seemed like had absolute stick 'em for hands.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that was thrown his way, he was able to get it. And then it was the yards after the catch that made it so good. The quarterback is very patient in the pocket, can get out of the pocket, can throw on the run.
I think he was a junior.
Yeah. So young man, lefty, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of talent back. There's no question about it. So, but if you also remember, that was a game that Oneida stuck around.
Mm-hmm. They did.
Yep. Made them make a few mistakes, held them off defensively. After we held them, though, we just couldn't get the ball moving.
Couldn't.
We just couldn't get it rolling.
Offensively, we never was able to.
Now 28-14 to the state semifinals is not.
It's
right.
not bad. It was a very competitive game.
Right. Just couldn't get it going offensively, and we didn't all season really. I mean, we just couldn't.
Yeah, and
outside
but
of
with all that returning, and also the confidence to know we did it last year, that's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Just that confidence to carry into those games to build on. So the York Dragons, that's going to be week 7, and that's going to be at home. So Oneida's had the home region games with York and Wartburg at that point. They'll have traveled to Polk County. And then we look at week 8. Now, this is a team Oneida's not played much, but when they have played this team, the stakes have been pretty high in the past. This will be only the 5th matchup in week 8 with Tellico Plains, and it will be this is at Tellico Plains.
Correct.
This is game number 927 of Oneida football. And Tellico Plains last year was 3-7. They didn't qualify for the playoffs. They are the Bears, and this will be the 5th meeting. Oneida's never lost to Tellico Plains. One of the biggest games I remember was 94 in the quarterfinals. Oneida beat them to get a rematch with Harriman in the semifinals in 94, one of the great Oneida teams of all time. And so now, what about the Bears, Bo?
Now, also, you talked about that. 4th time we've played Tellico Plains. The last time, 2013, that was a first-round matchup under Tony Lambert, a 17-7 win there in the first round of the playoffs. This will be the first time we have played Tellico Plains in the regular season since 1972.
Wow.
And that was under Ron Johnson, a 28-13 win for the Indians back then. The first time the year before under Coach Ben Daniel, 28-13 win also that season. Once again, Tellico Plains 3-7 overall last year, 0-5 in region play. The last 4 games of the season, only put together 28 points in the last 4 games of the season. They played Marion County 62-14 loss, Bledsoe County 52-7,
Well,
and then they had to go to Sweetwater 49-7 and to state champion Tyner Academy a 54-0 loss. This year they do lose their starting quarterback from last year, Landon Hollinghead. He went 84 of 76 last year for just over 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, threw 13 interceptions, but he also carried the ball a lot. 91 carries, 642 yards, and 8 touchdowns last year as a quarterback. Then they also had another running back in Damian Webb that they lost. He had 54 carries for 318 yards and a touchdown, caught the ball quite a bit out of the backfield, had 292 receiving yards out of the backfield last year. Damian Webb also a pretty pivotal point on defense. He had 37 tackles, 10 tackles for loss. They also lost another young man in Case Grant. He had 61 tackles, 7 tackles for loss last year. But returning this year, they have a junior quarterback who got some playing time last year. His name's Omar Miller. Didn't throw the ball much, but he likes to run the ball. He had 40 carries last year as a backup for 326 yards, 3 touchdowns. They've got some other running backs coming back. The main one, Chance Shapiro. He'll be a junior. He had 60 carries last year for 370 yards and 3 touchdowns. They've also got another young man by the name of Ike Hollinghead, big-time receiver. 21 carries, 146 yards, did not record a touchdown last year. But this is a team, in my opinion, once again, this will be week 8 of the season. They will have already seen Polk County, they will have seen York, and they will have seen Bledsoe County before we get to them. The week before, they travel to Harriman. So, interesting concept for this game. The Indians, this is probably one of those region games, especially late in the year, you really need to pick up that victory to try to carry some of that momentum if you're going to be entering the playoffs. This is one of those games that's almost a must-win.
All right, the road trips in the region are all the 3 longest road trips this year, but also Oneida with 6 home games. So next year Oneida's only going to have 4 home games. 3 of them will be these guys making the long trips. But we have a couple more teams to talk about before we wrap up the regular season, and that's what we're going to do when we return. We thank you for joining us. You are watching the Oneida Football 2023 season preview. Welcome back to the Oneida 2023 season preview. All of the stars are here with me. Bo Kidd, Mark Matthews, Kevin Akers, John Strunk, and we are walking through this Oneida schedule. We've been through 8 games, and we're ready for our final 2 regular season games. Week 9 will not be a region game. It will be the Kings Academy, and it will be in Oneida. It's game number 928 of Oneida football. Kings Academy finished 3-7. They were 3rd in their region, and they lost to Trinity Christian last year 24-20 in the playoffs. This will be the 5th meeting all time with the Kings Academy Lions. Oneida is 2-2 against Kings Academy. We haven't played since 2020. Who's got Kings?
That'd be me.
All right, John is the expert on Kings Academy, formerly known as Harrison Chilhowie, but then they moved out to Seymour and became Kings Academy.
Yeah, from Seymour. And Mark, you said you didn't have much on Greenback. You had their coaches who?
Tommy Clemmer.
Well, that's more than I got. I called, and I hope at least they'll give me a name, and I got a voice automated system, so I had to leave a message and no return call. What I looked up and what I found was there's 3 head coaches that are listed. They're probably previous, and just struggled to get some information on Kings. But what we got here, and with the help of Tim, is of course we played Kings now a couple of times in 2022. Excuse me. Where am I at? In 2022, they were 3-7, 3rd in region, lost in first round to Trinity Christian 24-20. That is Kings. This will be the 5th meeting. There we go. All time with the Lions. Oneida is 2-2 against King Academy, and the teams last played in 2020. Of course, we remember that Oneida lost, but it was 42-19. It was pretty competitive early, and then I think they used the big play and some speed and kind of pulled away. and then it says, as Tim has wrote this up, and he did it well, and I remember that one of the most memorable matchups came the year before in 2019 when Oneida won 28-21 in an overtime matchup. So it is the fifth time. The first four it was loss, win, loss for Oneida, and the Kings Academy this year they open up with Grace Christian, then Christian Academy of Knoxville. They'll play Campbell County, Lenoir City, Chattanooga School for the Arts and Sciences, Grace Baptist, Providence Christian Academy, Ezell Harding, Middle Tennessee Christian, Oneida, and then Friendship Christian. So pretty tough schedule that they're playing.
Division II team, so the roster can change drastically from year to year.
Yep.
Their basketball roster is usually what changes very rapidly into a very competitive group, but you just don't know what you're going to get with Kings Academy when they come in most of the time.
It'll be late season, so I mean you could be running into a hornet's nest right here with this bunch. And if you're looking for a win, you're like I said, you're week 9 and you're wanting some momentum at the end of the season, especially if you're playing playoff football.
Who knows?
Who knows what you're going to get right here?
Absolutely.
Anyone else with Kings Academy? All right.
I just remember going over and playing. Of course, it's going to be in Oneida this year, but it's always one of the neatest atmospheres to go to because everybody's encouraged to bring their lawn chairs and stuff the way that thing's laid out, and all the visitors have their lawn chairs.
And we didn't bring them.
No, we didn't. We have to broadcast from a pop-up tent beside the field.
We did that one year, didn't we?
What's that?
I did it in a pop-up camper.
Yeah, every time you go over there, you have to. No, we didn't last time. That's right. We was up in the press box last time. We had to have a pop-up tent and stuff on the sidelines.
We sure did. Yeah, that was. I also remember going and playing Harrison Chilhowie one time, but I won't.
Why not?
I think it's
obviously.
Go on,
I know what
Mark.
you're going to say. Tell that story because that is
Mark.
a great story.
It is a great
lean
story.
into it.
You mean lean into it?
Go ahead.
We went and played Harrison Chilhowie one time.
We didn't mean it.
Yeah, we didn't. But we was ahead 48 to nothing.
I think it was 56-0.
56 to nothing at halftime. And we walked into the locker room, and Coach May come in and he said, "Guys, I don't know what to say. We hadn't watched the band play all year. Let's go out and watch the band play." And we went out and watched the band play at halftime. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We sure did.
I heard that band had a supremely talented trumpet player in it.
Cal wasn't playing then, was
he? I believe you missed that game, didn't you? Yeah, but that was a
okay. Week 10, everybody's. Yes.
If the train was
thank you, it's over.
If the train was ever on the rails,
yes,
we just went on.
We will run it off. Week 10, we're traveling to Pikeville, Tennessee. We've been there before. This time, we're going for a regular season game against a region opponent, and that has never happened before. Oneida's never been in Bledsoe County's region. And in 2022, Bledsoe was 7-5. They finished second in their region. They lost in the second round to East Robertson. This will be the 929th game of Oneida football. It'll be the 5th meeting all time with the Bledsoe County Warriors. And, Bo, you have Bledsoe County.
Yeah, the last time we played was back in 2018, of course, under Tony Lambert. He got a 10-0 win and a 14-0 win over Bledsoe County. Coach May has seen this team before, back in 1999 and 2000, a couple of one-point wins over Bledsoe County, a 7-6 win in 99, 21-20 back in 2000. This is a team, once again, you talked about it, 7-5 last year, 3-2 overall or in the region. They played York last year, got a win against York in week 1, 28-14. So, what does that say about them? Well, they also had a Mr. Football. They also had a Mr. Football candidate, though, last year.
Pretty good.
Pretty dadgum good, but he's gone. Young man by the name of Hunter Clark. 1,769 rushing yards last season. 8.5 yards a carry, 20 rushing touchdowns. Caught for 331 yards. 2,257 all-purpose yards last year. On the defensive side of the ball, not much, just 101 tackles last year. He had 11 tackles for loss, 8 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. There's a reason why this young man was a Mr. Football candidate last year, but he's gone. Question is, who do they replace him with? He was their absolute workhorse last year. Do you have that one person that can fill in that gap? Or are you going to have to go by committee and try to fill this in? Where is this offense going to come from now that Mr. Clark has went on and taken his talents to Williamsburg? He's actually up at the University of the Cumberlands this year.
And maybe they've got another guy coming in like that. This kid, phenomenal athlete, obviously over 2,200 yards. That's amazing, guys. That's amazing. I'm glad he's gone.
Now they opened up.
He's out of here.
Now they opened up the season. They opened up the season at Sequatchie County this year.
Yeah.
Of course, they still have York on the schedule. That's in week 4.
We'll see what they got.
Of course, they get rid of Tyner Academy off that schedule from last year. Of course, they lost to Tyner 41-7 in the middle of the season last year. But the schedule, at Sequatchie, Cumberland County, at Sale Creek before they get their first region game, and then they have 3 back-to-back region versus York, at Wartburg, at Tellico Plains. So we'll see about where they're at. And then, of course, before us, they make a trip to Gordonsville. So we'll see.
Gordonsville pretty good last year.
And Gordonsville was a pretty good ball club last year. So we'll see. We'll see what Bledsoe has in store for us for the regular season finale.
Yeah.
All right, it is the Oneida 2023 season preview show, and you may be saying, well, you haven't even hardly talked about Oneida. Now, let me tell you, in this episode, this is not going to be where you're going to get your Oneida information for the most part. We're going to do that in another season preview once we get a chance to watch the Indians in some scrimmages and see some things that are going on and hopefully get some coaches in. We're just trying to preview the opponents for the season. However, we do have one more segment that my guys are going to be here for, and I'm going to put them on the spot just a little bit, and we're going to play a game when we come back. And they don't know the game. They don't know the rules. I made them up as I went. And so when we come back,
cheater,
it will be it will be time for them to.
This is one of those games where Tim wins.
We don't have to take our shirts off, do we?
No, it's not shirts and skins or anything like that. No, it's just I will only have to ask questions, so I'm the only one guaranteed not to lose in this one. So we'll do that when we come back. You're watching the Oneida 2023 season preview. Welcome back. It's the final segment of the Oneida 2023 season preview. Cheers going up at home. I can hear that. But this is the lightning round, and it is quiz time. And Mark generously volunteered to go first. So for the first 10 questions, they're all the same. And the rules are the same.
Lord.
It shouldn't take long.
Okay.
It shouldn't take long. You can see the Oneida schedule. Greg's going to put the Oneida schedule up for you here and diminish us, which is to everyone's liking. As you look at the Oneida schedule here, Mark, when you see this schedule, I want you to tell me the absolute lock win for Oneida. Of all these 10 teams, this is the one. Hey, you're not off camera. This is the one. This is the one Oneida's going to win. And then
an absolute lock win.
And then an absolute lock win, and then you're going to say, I am 70% sure, 50% sure, 30%. How sure are you? What is the you look at that schedule and you say this one's a win.
I'm gonna throw this out there. I'm gonna say I'm 50% sure we're gonna beat Wartburg.
50 is as high as you'll go.
I'll say 75.
Can I talk you into 85?
I'll say 90.
That was easy. See, that's why you needed to go first.
90% sure we're going to beat. No, I'm throwing down the gauntlet. I'm saying 100% sure.
Oneida beats Wartburg.
Oneida beats Wartburg
in Oneida.
Yep.
Okay.
On week 4.
All right,
that's
Bo,
what I'm saying.
We're going this direction, so Bo gets to go second.
All right.
Bo,
you can't pick the same team.
No,
that's fine.
Yeah, that one's
that's
off
fine.
the table.
Yeah.
What's the second most likely win?
And I'll stick with your 100% lock. And I will take a road region win at Tellico Plains.
Boom.
Oh,
there's your region win
out there.
Down in
and it's got to be a win, right?
Well, I mean,
Win.
Well,
Loss.
not it. What's
100%
your
loss.
percentage?
100%.
No, if you
I
if you
think
don't think it's going to be a win, then your percentage is probably going to be below 50. I don't know. That's what this game is. It gets tougher as we go. John L. Now you cannot pick Wartburg. You cannot pick Tellico Plains.
It's up on the screen.
Who do you
John
want
L.
to pull? Who do you want to pull for?
You let your boy Mark go first, didn't you? You let your boy Mark
Well,
go
if you'd have
first.
got here on time, you had a chance.
I was here on time for once.
All right.
Hey, this seriously, this is where the rubber meets the road for Oneida.
He's going York.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to go Polk County, and I'm going to go 60%.
Okay.
Polk County, 60%, another region win. That would put Oneida, what would that be?
That'd be 2 region wins right there.
Wartburg.
If you all are
Well,
right, that's
no,
2
that's-
region wins. That would be playoffs for Oneida. If
Polk
so,
County
you're,
and-
you're
Actually,
thinking
no, that's 3.
That's 3. No.
Polk County, Wartburg, Tellico Plains, absolutely. That's 3
that
region
is.
wins.
That's 3 region
Wow.
wins already.
Wow.
Up there. And
There
then
you go.
well,
Now,
you're going out of
here we
region.
go.
I can tell.
Here we go.
He's got that look in his eye, and it's
I
coming.
can't believe y'all ain't picked this one yet.
Coalfield. He's going to say
Who you
Coalfield. I
got,
can
Kevin?
feel it.
I'm going 70% win at Eagleton, mainly because we're getting them early in the season and they're a new team.
What's he think?
That's a risky one.
Okay.
Oh, he's
But Kevin Akers is on. He's on tape now.
Well, this is going into another conversation. So
No,
you
it
won
ain't.
the picks last year and just beat me by a game.
You
so
know why?
We'll find out.
You know why? Because I'm better than you.
All right.
Cheated.
All right. Hey, so
Just
it's
saying.
so it's getting tougher now. 4 teams off the board.
Okay. What's the
and-
next question?
And the next question is, who's the next team
No.
off the board?
You
Oh,
have to
yeah.
change the
That's why
question.
it's 10
We went
questions.
around.
Wait,
Now,
it's
now,
10
do I
questions.
Are you?
start
What do
this
you
one?
got to pick?
We're
too?
ranking. We're ranking them all. So like when we get to the last team, it'll be the least likely win. That's what we're
Okay.
doing.
Oh,
so
okay.
what's
Okay,
the,
I'm gonna
what's
go.
the next most likely win?
I'm gonna say I will say the King's Academy.
What's your percentage on that?
I'll say 50%.
So that could go either way.
Yeah,
you're
it could
saying.
go either way, but I'm gonna say 50%.
Do I have to leave now? Because I thought the same exact thing before he ever picked.
See, but they're off the board. You should have picked.
No, I mean
second
I would.
first.
That's who I would have picked in the same percentage. I
Yeah,
don't
but
like
I'm sorry,
thinking like
but
him.
you're a loser and
John-
I'm not. So
Well, no, but you've got to understand we are going by Winfield rules.
Winfield
and
rules
Winfield
says that
rules say
I get a
that-
pick before you.
That's right. So,
That's Winfield,
Winfield
rules.
So-
on my back.
so Bo, we have 5 teams
Mm-hmm.
left. Who's the next most likely win for Oneida?
I think you go to your season opener. I think Rockwood. I think the big thing right there is how acclimated to the heat is everybody going to be.
Good point.
I think that's going to be a big.
Playing chess.
I think that's
Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
a big
Cramps.
factor to it.
All right.
How acclimated is everyone to the heat? If Oneida can stay on that field and keep their guys from getting cramped up and everything, got a shot.
All right. So what's your
Right,
percentage?
right at it. Right. It's a coin flip. It's
50 you're going 50?
50. Yeah, it's a 50-50 game.
Interesting. There's 4 teams left. See, it gets tougher.
Yeah, it gets tougher on who.
What's the next most likely win for the Indians? Who's the next team that
Greenback.
Greenback? So I think y'all went way late with Greenback. I'm just going to put that in. there.
I'm sort of with you there.
Yeah.
But what's your percentage?
You threw him a bone,
I'm
didn't
going
Tried.
to.
you?
I was trying to be
Bo.
nice.
I'm going to go 50% just based on last year's results.
Okay.
And the last 2 years' results. Really, it came down to a toss-up.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to go Greenback at 50.
All right. And so, Kevin, there's 3 teams remaining. What's the next most likely win for Oneida?
Well, this one, when you consider the 3 teams that's left, is pretty obvious which one I'm going to go with.
Name them. Who's
got
left?
Coalfield, York, and Bledsoe County. And
Yeah.
so I'm going to go with Bledsoe County. It's at Bledsoe County. They've got a little bit of a unique home field advantage. If anybody has been there before, they know exactly what I'm talking about, and that's all I'm going to say about it. But you better not eat before you get there.
All right, so you guys have found 8 wins, and Mark and Bo, this is just to finish it out, okay? I'm not going to We're not going to be.
You want a
know,
percentage?
Yes, I do. Sorry.
40%.
Oh, so that's really like picking them,
Well, I can't help it.
isn't it? It really is. So, who's tougher between the two remaining, Mark, York or Coalfield?
Well, I'm going to have to say that probably Coalfield's tougher.
So that means
Now, both
York
of
would
them
be next.
Both of them
Scared.
probably going to be playing for a state championship.
Well, no, I'm picking York.
York, and that makes Bo pick Coalfield. So.
Yeah.
Saying
that is rough.
50-50.
That's
50-50.
rough. That's
50-50.
rough.
50-50.
So, hey, the point of
Yeah.
this game is,
yeah.
from the time you started,
Yeah.
that's hard.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to look at that schedule and
Yeah.
find wins. This is a very good schedule with a lot of very good teams. One thing that can make a big difference in teams is fan support.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think any of these teams, some are pretty close to equal to Oneida in fan support. I will give that to the Coalfield bunch. Greenback, when they're rolling, they'll bring a lot of people. But, I mean, Oneida
York does a good
travels.
job.
Yeah.
And that's
they
one
do.
thing. When I talked to the coach from Polk County, he said, we're going to travel. He said, you're going to see, we're going to bring a lot of people. Not this year, because we're going there this year.
Yeah.
But, all right. Just a couple of other quick questions to wrap this up. Whose turn is it? John?
John.
L.
John, what's your biggest question about Oneida football going into the season? What do you need answered?
I think it goes back to where we were last year, and it's line play, point of attack, both sides of the football, offensive line and defensive line. How are we going to be? Are we going to get better than we were able to be last year? And we've lost a lot of size there. We've got youth, and we've got the guys that are coming back don't have as much playing experience. So you know not only are you playing some freshmen, sophomores that are going to get some opportunities, but you got some seniors and juniors that just didn't get the playing time last year.
All right, Kevin. Finish this sentence. I may not know anything else about what's going to happen in Oneida's season, but I know this.
Oh my gosh!
We're going to be throwing the football and trying to move it offensively through the air.
All right.
Good one.
All right. So, Mark, this will be the same schedule we play next year. So, in the next 2 years, what is the toughest road game for the Indians with this schedule you see? It may not be this year, it may be next year. What's the hardest road game?
Probably York.
All of them.
York. York or Coalfield. Either one of those. Do we play Coalfield at home this year? We do.
Yeah.
So York or Coalfield, either one, will be the toughest.
And that's a tough question, Tim, to be honest, because so many of these teams,
Yeah, but I
we
think
haven't been there
either one of those
ever, or
Yeah.
it's been.
I mean, you're going to
forever.
be the first ever home game for Eagleton. What's that going to look like?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they'll be fired up, man.
The
But
first
they
one
won't.
ever.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, a position group.
Not
Is it you?
That'd be me.
I just answered. your
Sorry,
question.
Bo. A position group you've got your questions about. You're wondering what this is going to be going into the season. It's the one that's a key question.
Since John L. already talked about the line, I will go a different direction. Okay? I'm going to talk about our running backs. Right now, doesn't seem like we got a whole lot of them there. I expect to see quite a bit. Now, once again, you got to remember who we've got coming back in the backfield right now. Ben Gilbert's going to be back there a little bit, and you're going to see T.J. Meredith back there. TJ, sorry. You got a freshman in Xander Lau,
Mm-hmm.
Caleb.
who we saw. Yeah, Caleb as well. But you got a freshman in Xander Lau, who was an absolute monster last year.
Maybe special
Caleb's
time
last
it's
name.
over.
Pretty
Yeah.
good.
Caleb's
Touchdown
last
about
name.
50% of the time he touched the ball.
Reagan.
Yeah,
Caleb
Caleb
Reagan.
Reagan. Okay.
Yeah, and
But-
he carried the football a lot.
Yeah,
in
he did.
scrimmage.
He did.
Yeah.
But Xander Lau, that's going to be the question mark. How much playing time is he going to be seeing this year? How effective is he going to be when he's on the field?
Yeah, and I think you're probably going to see him maybe on the defensive side a
Yeah,
lot more
absolutely.
than you will on the offensive side. And maybe I'm wrong completely. We'll see as the season rolls around. But at linebacker,
And we'll have more of these questions
Oh,
answered
yeah.
when we
Yeah,
get
yeah,
the
yeah.
Oneida preview.
Yeah.
But just early look at this. We'll look back at this maybe when we do that preview. So, John, what about a position group that's a lock? This is the last one you're worried about. It's going to be fine.
Wow. I'm going to say receiving core. We played so many guys there last year, even with some losses. You gotta like the fact that what we're bringing back. They had their shots last year as well. They got on the field a lot. So I'm going to say receivers.
What'd you play, John?
Receiver.
That's right. Just wanted to point that out. Got a pretty good quarterback coming back too.
Yeah,
Throw that in
absolutely.
there. All right. So, Kevin, who will be the biggest surprise performer? Nobody realizes we're going to be watching this guy.
Well, I think we just talked about that. Xander Lau. I believe he's going to be the one to get.
All right.
Last year in middle school, by the way, won his championship, and they're all coming up this year. So remember that. They're going to be contributing, I
It was
think.
like 18 of those
Yeah, they
kids.
had
Yeah.
almost 20.
They
They
were
had almost
20.
20. Are they all playing? That's
I
the
think-
thing.
I
don't
think-
know.
I
You're going to think I'm
three-fourths of them are.
exaggerating
I
about
hope.
this, but Bo could probably nail this down. He scored about every third time he touched the football, didn't he?
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
See, and probably
did.
that's going to mess with my next question is give me a freshman contributor. So outside of Xander, Mark, I'm going to put a new rule to this.
The Meredith kid,
Yeah.
Cole.
Cole Meredith. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about him coming up and being able to contribute this year. So
All right.
There we go.
This one's just a wide open question. We lose Luke Barna. Tell me about special teams, Bo.
Justin Lynch. He was a backup last year. All summer long, he's been working with Coach Barna. Luke's been out there working with him as well. Pretty good leg, not too shabby. I don't know if he's got the distance Luke's got right now, but you also got to remember Justin's just a sophomore, so he's still got a lot of time ahead of him.
Yeah.
But now the question mark is if something were to happen to Justin, where do we go from there? And I'm not sure exactly where we go from there after that. So let's just make sure that he stays healthy throughout the year, and I think we'll be okay special teams wise.
Anybody in the return game make somebody nervous?
Landon Lindbergh.
Levi James.
Levi James and Landon Lindbergh. I mean, there ain't a question about that in my mind. Those two wide receivers, you talked about them right there, those young men, they can be pivotal playmakers.
Yeah.
And they get into some open field, it's going to be hard to catch them.
All right. Any final comments?
Bonus question.
Sure. Who's
Cole-
this for?
Everybody. Cole and TJ get on the field and play. How many times will I call one of them Phil, Meredith?
Numerous. My question is, how are you going to be able to keep – the only way you're going to be able to keep Waylon and William separated is because of a number, because you sure can't tell them apart if you look at them.
I'll just call them by the last name.
What, Hill?
And that's the Hill brothers.
Yeah, the Hill twins.
All right. So that's going to do it for this talented group with me. We're going to be back for one more little quick segment of business with Stuart Jones here in just a minute. But I hope you've enjoyed it. We've enjoyed doing this. We appreciate you joining us for this Oneida season preview. And we'll be back with a more in-depth look at the Indians in our next season preview. Any final comments anybody want to make?
Get out and support these guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get out here and support these young men.
August 18th, first ball
Yeah,
game,
we're-
Rockwood, and get out and support it. They need you behind them. They really do. They've been working hard, and I've got a scrimmage this Friday. I think it's 6:00. Maybe Cumberland Gap.
Gap and
I believe.
Jellicoe both.
Come out and show your support and cheer them on. They certainly need it.
All right, for Bo Kidd, Mark Matthews, Kevin Akers, and John Strunk, this is Tim Smith saying thanks for joining us. We'll be back for a quick second, so don't leave us. But this has been the 2023 Oneida season preview on the IH Sports Network. Welcome back to the season preview. Just one last segment, and we want to dedicate this segment as a dedication of thanks to a lot of folks without whom we wouldn't be here. And two of them are sitting over here to our left, Ben Garrett and Greg Bond. We all rolled up our sleeves into this project a couple of years ago, and it's been amazing the progress that has been made and the constant steps forward that have been taken. And I can brag about that because I didn't have anything to do with it because I'm not that smart, but they are, and they have really given us a great opportunity, and I think it's been big for the schools and the students involved in this, and that's what it's all about. And but also, they couldn't have done it, we couldn't have done it without sponsorship dollars, and we've had some very faithful, dedicated sponsors that have helped us out through the years. These sponsors, by the way, their ads have kept rolling throughout the year on, I've mentioned it several times tonight, but the South Fork Network TV stations 190 and 191 on Highland Communications. You can look at those on YouTube and see these old past games. And these commercials pretty much lock in and run for a year for our appreciation for what these advertisers do to help us present this product. So, Stuart Jones came on last year and really helped us build that client base and has continued to do so. And so coming into this year, there's still time. That's what this appeal is. It's to say that if you're thinking you might want to advertise on the IHSN, whether it be in football, in the round table, in the sports legends, anything we do, if you're interested in advertising, we're interested in hearing from you. And there is a package level designed no matter who you are. If you're a small business at an entry level and I can't do much, but I would like to do something, we've got something for you, all the way up to some big things such as, scoreboard sponsorship. I mean, that's up constantly on the screen all the time, your Twin K scoreboard, and we're thankful Twin K's around, and they're going to do that again this year. This year, we're excited. We tinkered, Greg perfected some instant replay last year, and we didn't have it sponsored because it was in the process, in the works, but it really got good by the end of the year. And I tell you, as I think about what instant replay is going to be like for football and the ability to manipulate that and go back and look at a play, and then it's going to carry on into basketball, that's going to be something big. And we do not have a title sponsor for that instant replay. If you watched any of it last year, you would see it would cut to instant replay and it would show IHSN's second look, and then it had a little logo down in the corner. That could be you. That could be your business. Instant replay is going to be used a lot. It's going to show a lot. It'll show during the live broadcast. It'll show during the playbacks. It will be available down the road on channel 190 and 191 as these games are shown back. So there's a long time presence in this instant replay, and Stuart's the man to talk to if you're interested in being the sole instant replay sponsor. Now, we may look at if some folks want to break it up, and a couple of folks want to do that. That would make it much harder on Greg, which I don't want to do, but it's not something we can't do. But if you want to be the sole sponsor of instant replay, I think you won't be disappointed in the amount of screen time you're going to get out of that. But we do have a lot of folks already on board. Stuart, talk a little bit about the folks that are going to help us present Oneida and Scott football for 2023 and on into basketball.
Absolutely, Tim. We've had so many sponsors just generous to showcase our student athletes here in this county as we kick off football season momentarily. But I want to thank you to First National Bank, Plateau Drug Center, Scott County Pharmacy. Twin K, as you mentioned earlier, is doing our scoreboard. Little's Drugs this year is going to sponsor our play of the game. McDonald's, again, coming through with our starting lineups. Hillwood Foods is going to do our out-of-town scoreboard. Razaks. Markham's Furniture and Appliances, Mark's Pharmacy, Stand, United Cumberland Bank, Baby J's is once again going to do our pregame, Danny King Lumber postgame show, El Rey Azteca, TNT Car Wash, Mountain Peoples, and Highland Telephone have all committed for this 2023 football season.
Okay, and I know you've talked to some others that are trying to look and see what they can do, and you're ready to talk to anybody. How can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. I prefer people call me on my cell. I'll give it out here. It's 865-617-5000. That's the easiest way to contact me via that method there, text, call, whatever you're more comfortable with.
All right. John, Mark, you guys got anything to say before we break up for the evening?
No, it'd just be to echo what you've said to this point, Tim, and the fact that we couldn't be here with help from the sponsors, and we've been doing this a lot of years, and we're always very appreciative of what our sponsors do and how they help the program, and then also like Stuart said, to showcase the student athletes. That's why we're here. That's our intent, is to help the school in that regard, and the athletes, and also those families that maybe can't get to every game or maybe can't travel, and the sponsorship helps that immensely.
Yeah, this makes it available to a lot of grandmas and grandpas and aunts and uncles that it isn't available to be at those games, and people that live off from here in Texas and Nashville and California and wherever that are Oneida and Scott High fans that aren't able to watch these games and see their nieces and nephews play, and this is a way for them to do that, and shoot, these sponsors make that possible, and these kids, tell you what, this right here, these sponsors make it possible for a whole lot of people to see these kids play, and to see a lot of colleges to see these kids play that wouldn't have ever got to see them play, and that's what it's all about, guys. That's what it's all about.
And as consumers, if you can stop in and you're using these places of business, and you can say thank you to these sponsors, that would go a long way as well. That will let them know firsthand that what they're doing is a grand thing and a good thing, and I would encourage that as well from everybody.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. We feel like we've got an exciting year planned for you, not just the games, but the pre-games, the round tables. The legends will return this year. A lot of interesting names that you're going to hear from in this coming year. After we're going to continue to try to perfect our craft, and we thank those that have worked so hard to do it. And again, I'm going to say Ben Garrett and Greg Bond worked tirelessly to bring you the best visual experience they can, and I thank them for that, because we've done this a long time and we don't get any better. We're where we are. We're pretty steady, but they make things better. And Stuart, thank you, because you've given folks opportunity to be a part of this and made it possible to grow what we do. So sincerely, thank you for what you do. And I want to thank John and Mark, and Bo was here earlier, Kevin, and we thank you for joining us, and we look forward to the coming football and basketball season. So for all those involved in the broadcast tonight, this is Tim Smith saying thanks for joining us. You've been listening to and watching the 2023 Oneida Football Preview on the IH Sports Network.